Severe thunderstorm activity across southeast Queensland, a developing tropical low in the Coral Sea, extreme fire weather concerns for parts of the country, and all of this happening while we're retracking multiple weather systems that could significantly impact large parts of Australia over the coming week. I've been examining the latest data from the Bureau of Meteorology, cross-referencing the Access model with the European and GFS models, and looking at current observations right across the country. What we're re-seeing is a complex weather pattern that deserves your attention. Right now, conditions across Queensland from Brisbane north have been intense. Southeast Queensland has copped severe thunderstorms 2 days running. The lightning activity has been particularly impressive. Dangerous cloud to ground strikes, frequent lightning and strong wind gusts. But here is what's interesting. Despite all that storm activity, rainfall totals have been surprisingly low in many areas. Brisbane itself has seen minimal rain from these systems. The storms have been high-based, meaning the rain S evaporating before it hits the ground in some spots. Classic dry thunderstorm setup up around Mount Carbine in far north Queensland. Conditions this morning were sitting at 31 degrees with 92% humidity. Minimum overnight was 27 degrees. That's uncomfortable. That moisture and heat is exactly what is feeding these storm systems. Compare that to what is happening further south and west. Parts of Victoria and South Australia have seen cooler, more settled conditions, but that contrast is about to shift. Let S break down what S driving all of this, because understanding the meteorology helps you understand what S is coming next. We've got a surface trough extending from the Gulf of Carpentaria down through inland Queensland and into northern New South Wales. That trough is acting like a focus point for storm development. It's where the warm, moist air from the Coral Sea is colliding with drier air from inland areas. That collision creates instability, add in strong upper-level winds and decent wind shear, and you've got all the ingredients for severe thunderstorms. The Access model is showing this trough remaining active through at least Wednesday. The European model agrees. The GFS is slightly slower with the timing, but the overall pattern is consistent across all three models. That gives me confidence in the forecast. Now, here is where it gets more concerning. We're re-monitoring a developing tropical low in the Coral Sea, positioned roughly east of Cairns. As of the latest Bureau update, this system is still classified as a tropical low, not yet a cyclone. But the conditions are favourable for development over the next 48 to 72 hours. Sea surface temperatures in the Coral Sea are sitting at 28 to 29 degrees Celsius. That S warm enough to support tropical cyclone development. Wind shear is currently moderate, which is preventing rapid intensification, but the models are showing that shear decreasing midweek. If that happens, this system has the potential to intensify into a tropical cyclone. The Bureau of Meteorology is monitoring this closely. At this stage, the most likely track has the system moving southwest toward the Queensland coast. But I want to be clear about uncertainty here. Tropical lows at this stage of development can be unpredictable. Small changes in steering currents can mean the difference between a coastal impact and the system staying offshore. For far north Queensland, from Cooktown to Townsville, you need to be paying attention to this. Even if the system doesn't develop into a cyclone, it is still going to produce heavy rainfall. The models are showing potential rainfall totals of 100 to 200 millimetres across coastal areas between Wednesday and Friday. Some isolated areas could see higher totals if we get training thunderstorms. The Burdekin River catchment, the Herbert River area around Ingham, and catchments around Cairns and the Atherton tablelands are all at risk of significant rainfall. If you're in low-lying areas or near rivers that are prone to flash flooding, start thinking about your flood preparedness now. Now, while the north is dealing with tropical moisture and storm activity, southern parts of the country are facing a completely different set of concerns. A strong high-pressure system is positioned over the Bight. That high is directing hot, dry, northerly winds across South Australia, Victoria and Western New South Wales. Fire danger ratings are climbing. For tomorrow, we're relooking at severe to extreme fire danger across parts of the Mallee, the Wimmera in Victoria and the Riverland in South Australia. Temperatures across these areas are forecast to reach the mid to high 30s. Adelaide is looking at 36 degrees tomorrow. Mildura could hit 39. Combined with low humidity, in some areas dropping below 15%, and northerly winds gusting to 40 to 50 kilometres per hour, fire conditions are going to be dangerous. The Country Fire Authority in Victoria and the CFS in South Australia have both issued warnings. Total fire bans are in place across multiple districts. If you are in these areas, you know what that means. No fires whatsoever, no barbecues, no angle grinders, no machinery that could throw a spark. This is serious. Many of you remember Black Saturday, February 7th, 2009. Catastrophic fire conditions across Victoria. Temperatures above 40 degrees, humidity in single digits, wind gusts over 90 kilometres per hour. 173 people died. This week as conditions want to reach those extremes, but any fire that starts tomorrow will spread rapidly and be difficult to control. If you live in a bushfire-prone area, make sure you know your fire plan. If your plan is to leave early, tomorrow is a leave early day. Don't wait to see smoke. By the time you see flames, it's too late. For those with livestock, make sure animals have access to water and shelter. Paddocks are dry, grass curing is at dangerous levels. Even a small fire can get away quickly. Back to the storm situation across Queensland and northern New South Wales. The pattern we've seen the last 2 days is likely to continue through at least midweek. Afternoon and evening thunderstorms developing along and east of the ranges. These storms will be capable of producing damaging wind gusts, large hail and intense lightning activity. The area around Blackbutt, the Lockyer Valley around Laidley, the Scenic Rim and parts of the Darling Downs are all in the firing line again today and tomorrow. The Bureau's severe thunderstorm outlook has these areas highlighted. Now, one of the frustrating aspects of this pattern is the rainfall distribution. You can have a severe thunderstorm dump 50 millimetres in one suburb and the next suburb over gets nothing. That's the nature of isolated severe storms. Brisbane has largely missed out on significant rainfall despite storms firing all around the metro area. That could change, but Don T, count on it. For northern New South Wales, particularly the northern rivers and the north coast, you are on the southern fringe of this activity. Storm chances increase Wednesday and Thursday as moisture pushes further south. The Casino area, the Richmond Valley and areas around Lismore and Ballina should see storm activity midweek. Overnight minimums across southeast Queensland are staying warm. Mid-20s overnight, high humidity. It's uncomfortable, sleep is difficult. That pattern continues until we get a change, which isn't looking likely until late in the week at the earliest. Let me talk about the broader pattern because what happens over the next 7 to 10 days has implications for the entire eastern seaboard. That tropical low I mentioned earlier, whether it develops into a cyclone or not, is going to be a moisture source. As it tracks toward the coast or moves south, it is going to interact with a trough system that S forecasts to develop along the eastern states later in the week. The models are showing potential for an east coast low to develop off the New South Wales coast by the weekend or early next week. East coast lows are notoriously difficult to forecast at this range, but the pattern is there. If one does develop, we're re-looking at heavy rainfall for the New South Wales coast and ranges, strong to damaging winds and dangerous surf conditions. For those in Newcastle, the Central Coast, Sydney, the Illawarra and the South Coast, this is something to watch. It's too early for specific impacts, but it is worth being aware that the setup is there. The European model is more aggressive with developing this system than the Access or GFS models. That divergence tells me there is still uncertainty. I'll be watching the model runs closely over the next few days. Tasmania and Victoria S eastern districts could also see impacts from this system if it develops and tracks south. Heavy rain across Gippsland and Tasmania S north and east would be possible by the weekend. Now let us talk about the rest of the week in more detail, region by region. For Queensland, north of about Mackay, the focus is on that tropical low. Keep an eye on Bureau updates. Have your cyclone kit ready. Stock up on essentials before the system arrives, not when it's on the doorstep. Batteries, torches, non-perishable food, water. If you are in a caravan or temporary accommodation, have a plan to relocate to solid shelter if a cyclone warning is issued. Southeast Queensland and the Darling Downs continued storm activity through Wednesday. Conditions ease slightly Thursday and Friday as the trough weakens and starts to shift east. Temperatures remain in the low 30s with high humidity. Northern New South Wales, storm chances increase midweek. Heavy rainfall possible in storms. Watch for flash flooding in usual problem areas. For Sydney and the Central Coast, conditions are relatively quiet through Wednesday. Partly cloudy, tops around 27 to 29 degrees. But by Thursday and Friday, clouds increase and showers become more likely as moisture from the north starts to filter south. That potential east coast low I mentioned becomes a factor by the weekend. The ACT and southern tablelands mostly settled through the week. Temperatures in the mid to high 20s. Chance of a shower or storm Thursday and Friday, but nothing significant at this stage. Victoria, we've got a split state. Northern and western districts hot and dry through Wednesday. Severe fire danger Tuesday and Wednesday. Melbourne itself stays a bit cooler, low 30s, because you'll get some sea breeze influence. But areas like Mildura, Swan Hill, Horsham and Bendigo are all going to be hot and dry. Fire weather is the main concern. By Thursday, a weak cool change moves through southern Victoria. Melbourne drops back to the mid-20s. That change gradually spreads north through the state Thursday and Friday. Temperatures moderate, but the change doesn't bring much rain. A few showers for southern coastal areas, but northern and western districts stay dry. South Australia, similar story. Hot and dry through Wednesday. Adelaide hits the mid to high 30s Tuesday and Wednesday. Extreme fire danger for the Mallee, Riverland and parts of the mid-north. That change arrives late Wednesday for Adelaide, bringing cooler temperatures Thursday and Friday. But again, minimal rainfall. A few showers for the Mount Lofty Ranges and Adelaide Hills, but most areas stay dry. Western Australia, Perth and the southwest are looking at a fairly typical spring pattern. Temperatures in the mid to high 20s, mostly sunny. A weak trough moves through late in the week, bringing a slight chance of showers, but nothing significant. The real story for WA is further north. The Pilbara and Kimberley are seeing typical build-up conditions. Hot, humid, isolated storms, nothing unusual for this time of year. Tasmania, you've been enjoying relatively pleasant conditions. That continues through most of the week. Hobart in the low 20s, partly cloudy, light winds. By Friday and into the weekend, if that east coast low develops, you could see rain areas spreading across the north and east. Too early for totals, but it's worth watching. Northern Territory, Darwin and the top end are well into the build-up. Afternoon storms most days. Heavy rain possible in storms. Humidity is high, overnight minimums in the mid-20s, typical for this time of year. No significant systems threatening at this stage. Now, let's talk practical advice based on these conditions. If you're in southeast Queensland dealing with these storms, the main risks are lightning and wind. These high-base storms can produce dangerous lightning well away from the main rain core. If you can hear thunder, you are close enough to be struck. Get inside. Not under a tree, inside a building or a car. Lightning kills people every year in Australia, and most of those deaths are avoidable. Strong wind gusts are bringing down tree branches. A couple of areas around Laidley and the Lockyer Valley saw trees uprooted yesterday. Secure loose items around your property, trampolines, outdoor furniture, anything that can become a projectile in strong wind. Bring it inside or tie it down properly. For far north Queensland, watching that tropical low, preparation is key. Don't wait until it's a cyclone to start preparing. By then, the supermarkets are stripped bare and it's too late. Get your supplies sorted now. Check your emergency kit. Make sure you've got medications, important documents in a waterproof container, battery-powered radio, charged power banks for your phone. If you've got a generator, test it now. Make sure it works. Make sure you've got fuel. Don't wait until the power is out to discover your generator. 1T start. For those in fire danger areas across Victoria and South Australia, situational awareness is critical tomorrow. Know what the fire danger rating is for your district. Catastrophic means do not stay and defend under any circumstances. Extreme means conditions are dangerous. Leaving early is the safest option. If you are not prepared to defend, leave. Keep an eye on emergency services, websites and apps. The CFA in Victoria, the CFS in South Australia, they'll have the most up-to-date information on any fires that start. If you're replanning to use machinery tomorrow, think again. Angle grinders, slashers, anything that creates sparks or heat, it's not worth the risk. One spark in these conditions can start a fire that destroys homes and lives. For everyone, regardless of where you are, stay informed. Weather conditions are changing. What I am telling you today might be different tomorrow as new data comes in and models update. Check the Bureau of Meteorology website regularly. They read the official source. Their warnings and forecasts are what you should be basing your decisions on. Social media can be useful for real-time reports, but it can also spread misinformation. Verify information before acting on it. If someone posts that a cyclone warning has been issued, check the Bureau S website to confirm. Just share it and look after each other. Check on elderly neighbours, mates who live alone, anyone who might be vulnerable. A quick phone call or knock on the door can make a big difference. We look after our communities in this country. That S, what we do. The weather over the next week is going to be challenging for different parts of Australia for different reasons. Fire weather in the south, storm and flood potential in the north, the possibility of a significant coastal system later in the week. None of these are events we haven't dealt with before, but each requires attention and preparation. I'll continue monitoring these systems and providing updates as conditions develop. The tropical low situation in particular could change quickly. If it intensifies into a cyclone, the Bureau will issue warnings with plenty of lead time. Pay attention to those warnings. For now, the key messages are southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales continued severe storm risk through Wednesday. Far north Queensland, monitor that tropical low closely and prepare for heavy rain regardless of whether it becomes a cyclone. Victoria and South Australia, extreme fire danger Tuesday and Wednesday. Be alert and prepared. And for the New South Wales coast and eastern Victoria, keep an eye on that potential east coast low development for the weekend. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll continue to track these systems together as they develop. This is a dynamic weather pattern and conditions can change, but with proper preparation and awareness, we can navigate it safely. If you found this analysis useful, the thumbs up helps others find this information. And if you've got questions or observations from your area, the comment section is there. I read through them, and local reports help build a more complete picture of what's actually happening on the ground, right? That S where we stand as of this recording. Significant weather across multiple parts of Australia, different threats for different regions, but nothing we can handle with proper preparation and awareness. Take care, and I'll have more updates